Hi, everybody. Welcome back. Today we have Jen from Denture Box, and we kind of want to discuss, I think dentists are getting a bad rap. I don't know. A while ago, a couple weeks ago, I went to my own dentist, and dentist giving people such bad dentures. And he said, it is not the dentist, it is the lab. He said 5% of that might be the dentist. The other 95% is it's the lab's fault. And I came home and I called Jen, and she's like, we just were having this conversation here. Denture Box is the lab. Yeah, you don't have to go through your dentist, and we're going to explain more about that in this video, but you don't have to go through a dentist per se to get Denture Box teeth. You're going to talk directly to the lab. How's that? Is that about right, Jen?
Yeah, that's correct. And that's what has become so important with our product. And so important for the patients that we work with is that we actually get direct communication with them.
I know. When I was working with you, we talked like this on the teledentex. You and we talked like this, and we decided what we wanted in my denture. And I know you've sent me 2 extra sets of dentures here. This is made out of the Trian material, correct?
That's correct.
And let's talk about these, because if I was going to go to a dentist and a dentist was going to write up a lab sheet and say she wants her smile to look like her normal smile, there's a little bit of a crooked front right tooth, and his interpretation of that may be this. No, let me get it right. I'm going to put this in my mouth. Let me just put it in my mouth for you. It might be something like this. Can you see it?
I can see it.
How it's crooked and just all wonky. So the dentist, how he would interpret that on paper and how it would get to the lab might interpret it differently than what you actually want. And with Denture Box, you can talk to Denture Box.
Yeah, and we record video of how that looks in your mouth. And then we take notes, which those look really funny, which we were trying to make them look funny. Just for effect. We would never send those that crooked out, but we'll take a recording. I take notes with you. It's all done through the portal. And then that way, when they go to make improvements to your design, all of that information is there, and they're looking at how it looked in your mouth, especially when we're dealing with people like if the midline is off just a little bit. We've got, the teeth in a good spot. The midline is just off from the nose. We get an up close video of that so that it's easily corrected and we can make those changes.
And not only that, you go into process. You have a step-by-step process on how you send out the try-in, what you want the fit correct first, correct?
It depends. We have 3 things we're trying to accomplish, and it's really different for everybody. We're trying to accomplish a great fit. We're trying to get a design and a smile that they love. And then we are making sure that they function either with their natural teeth or with the 2 dentures together. And what we've really come to is that is determined by the person's priorities. So if the first priority is, I really want to get the aesthetics down, I really want to have a design that I love, and that's usually because they got a horrible design with their other dentures, then we start with that. We decide on what shape of teeth that you want. Do you want square teeth? Do you want a more rounded shape? Do you want a triangular shape? So we talk about that. Some people want really big teeth and want a big smile. Some people want a more feminine, petite smile. And so we address that. And then once we have the aesthetics down, then usually getting that down will help to bring in the fit. And then we'll, whatever we need to do to make sure that the fit is good. And then that usually leads to the function becoming good. But
Now,
Sometimes
and you do that in stages.
yep, we do that
That's
in
going to be
stages.
different try-ins sent to you.
Yep, yep.
So if you get your first try-in and you're like, oh my gosh, look, this looks terrible, it doesn't work, then what you do is call her because you're ready for the next stage. If that
Yep.
part works,
Yep.
then
So
you'll send a box back and it'll be back and forth a few times, not just one time.
nope, it's sometimes we nail it. It's amazing and it's great the first time, but usually there's at least a second try-in, and then sometimes a third, depending on it's information. But we're developing new tools in the laboratory to try and get more information that is correct in the beginning. So we're creating things that haven't been available on the market to try and get this process to be more efficient.
Now, you also sent me a second set, just an example. This is just a bad example again. When I talked to you the first time, or toward the last, for the design part, when it was ready to, it fit me great, it was ready to go, we talked about design. I have wrinkles up here.
Mm-hmm.
And what was suggested that right on the top ridge, they build up my denture just a little bit to fill in my upper lip, which
Right.
you did perfectly. Now, per se that you told a dentist that, and he sent it to the lab, and the lab's interpretation, they want thicker dentures. This is what you might end up with. Do you see how thick this is right here?
Yeah, if you tell them they need increased lip support, they may just go to town.
And these in my mouth, I'll keep them in for a second, but these are so thick, I gag.
Yeah, they're
You know,
intense.
even the bottom, they build it up also. So these are super thick.
And we made them thick in the palate so that you could understand how thin we can get it. Because so many people, especially with their immediates, talk about how bulky they feel in their mouth, and how with the 3D printing and the digital design, it's so easy for us to get them as thin as they need to be so that we don't
Yeah.
deal with the gagging.
And here's the thick. This is super thick.
Yeah.
I don't gag in these dentures at all. I don't gag in these at all. I never have, and they still fit me great.
Mm-hmm.
So with Denture Box, plan on 1, 2, 3 visits to get it right, but it's $1,099 and it's all inclusive. I mean, that's the postage, that's as many visits as it takes, as many try-ins as it takes, your permanent dentures. I also have over here my try-in these for what, a week or two until you sent these to me.
Until we
I
process
liked
the
these.
denture.
Yeah, I liked these so much better than my immediate dentures. Nobody knew that I was wearing my try-in denture, but I wore these and ate in these and everything else until these came in. I liked them that much.
And the adjustment kit, which is so valuable for people. So you had a little spot that was starting to rub,
Mhm.
and most people do as they're getting ready. What happens normally with the dentist situation is you have to wait a couple of weeks to be able to get into the office. And in the meantime, that denture continues to rub and can really create a sore. But the minute that you felt that, you were able to take the handpiece and grind a little bit on that sore spot and make sure that it didn't grow into something bigger.
And I did, and I have one. And they send at the end, at the very last stage, when you get your final denture, they send a Dremel with the correct tip in it. This is not the correct tip. I took it out for a video. The correct tip in it,
Mm-hmm.
and another kit over here, the marking paper.
Yep, the marking paper and the marking sticks.
Yes, up there, right here, across my desk. Gonna do a video on this because I have fibromyalgia, and one night my nails were bothering me. My fingertips hurt so bad. So I thought, oh, they sent me a Dremel. I'm going to use it. So I got this out and tried to file my nails down. My acrylic nails, it wouldn't touch it. I couldn't do it. I just had to get a big clipper and cut them off because this is made for your teeth and it's very soft. and it won't
It's
gouge.
gentle
Yeah, it
because we
won't.
don't want anybody. Yeah, we
Yeah,
don't want anybody having a high powered tool that's going to zip through their denture. We want it to be, it's a gentle adjustment. You may have
mhm,
to do it a couple of times, but that way you won't destroy what you've got, your denture that you have.
right. So I'm watch your video coming out on this. I'm going to show you how to use this, but it wouldn't touch my acrylic nails, so I know it won't break a denture or put a hole through a denture either.
So we're with you throughout the entire process, from the beginning to the end, and following up after you've been in your final denture for a couple of weeks. We're there. You can communicate with us. You can give feedback. A lot of people are starting to send us pictures of what their original smile looked like. If
Oh,
that's what you desire, is to have your smile look like how you did in the beginning, we'll take pictures, and that gives us a place to start. And so all of that feedback is really wonderful.
and the feedback that I've been hearing from everybody that has ordered from you, the customer service is outstanding. You know, the way that you deal with a person, because this is coming from your heart. This is not a money making venture for you. This is something from your heart.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's a passion project. Making dentures is, I don't want to say the easy part, because it takes time and consideration, but the
Yeah.
physical making of the dentures is not the important part. The customer experience is the important part. And that's what we want to emphasize. It's your experience. It's you feeling like you were heard as a person, and that somebody is paying attention to what your needs are.
Not only that, the price is right. The
The
price
price
is
is right.
the price is right. So
The price is right.
everybody that I've talked to is happy with just the way you care. Just the way you care and the rest of your team. They just care.
We do care. We care a
Now,
lot.
all right, in the comments, if you have a question, leave it in the comments below. And you'll see somebody by the name of Andrea answering. Andrea works for Denture Box, and you can communicate in my comment section with Andrea if you want to. Well, I think the dentists are getting a bad rap out there, and something needs to be said because it's not the dentists, it's mostly the labs. And with you,
It's it's not even just the lab. It really is just, the dentists don't want to deliver a bad denture, and the lab doesn't want to deliver a bad denture. It's like the game telephone. You know, you start with one message, and it gets put into that person's ear, and then the next person's ear, and the next person's ear. And by the time it gets back to that original person, it's a completely different message. And this is all done usually just on paper. So what has become so valuable is this interaction, this video interaction, and us being able to see it in the person's mouth and go, oh, that's what they were referring to. We can fix that, no problem.
that's
But
an awesome way of putting that.
yeah, but when the dentist is writing it on a piece of paper and the lab is getting it back and reading it, there's always different interpretation. But when the lab gets to go, oh, you want bigger teeth, and I can see your face and the shape of it, then we only need to go one size, not two sizes, or all of that.
Yeah.
It's this interaction that is making it successful. It's really amazing, Michelle, how many God, the stories I'm getting, right? And
Yeah.
people will get a try-in that they love, and then
Mm-hmm.
it gets sent back to the lab, and what they get is completely different than the try-in that they approved. And nobody can really seem to answer how come that's happening.
Right. And you know what? I'm getting the same stories.
Yeah.
And it's heart wrenching to hear people that have had such a bad experience, you
Well, and
know?
that's why this is really important, because people are so nervous on their impression appointments because they think, oh, I got to make this happen. I've got to do this perfectly, or else I'm going to get a
Mhm.
horrible, because they got a horrible denture. So they get that, or they get their first try in and it's off. I mean, a lot of times they're off.
Right.
We need to do the bite better. And they're so defeated on that first call. And I get on and we have to really talk about, well, okay, yeah, the bite is funny. Your bite is off. We know we got to fix it. We're going to do impressions for that. But, how do you like your teeth? How do you like this smile? Is it in the right place? And once we start talking about that, everybody calms down and understands it's a process. But I mean, I get it. Everybody's had this story of they went in, put a wax try-in in for 5 minutes, didn't get to function with it, didn't really get to feel it, and then
Right.
we're told you got to take this.
I know. Well, when you sent my try-ins, I wore them for a week before we even met. And then it was like, how do you like these? Did they work for you? Yeah. I was able to wear mine for a week.
And that's kind of, that's something that's evolved from this. Like I had a guy, we nailed everything on the first try. His design was great. His fit was great. And so I was like, I don't know what to do. He was like, so we just decided, hey, wear them for 3 or 4 days. And so if there's any little bit of feedback or any changes that we need to make, we'll do that before we send it out. And I checked it with him 3 days later. We did the doctor call and I checked in with him and everything was still great. So then we processed.
Yeah. Well, that's good. That's a good way of doing it. It's better than going, yeah, you're right. It's better than having that wax try-in.
Yeah, the try-in it was designed to mimic the wax try-in, but now that we're using it the way we are, it's becoming so much more functional. And like you said, everybody, once we get the design right and they're waiting for their other denture, they wear their try-ins because they can eat with them and they fit so much better than what they've had.
I could chew. They had back teeth even.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or bread around in my mouth.
Right. They don't care about the white because they like the function. For people who don't have any existing dentures, that means that as soon as they get the try-in that is the correct one, they have teeth at that point and they have something that they can work with. And that is a few weeks faster than what they would normally have.
I wore these for 2 weeks and we should talk about these teeth. These, when you get the try-in, the teeth are going to be printed on the computer. Correct.
Yeah, and they're just they're monolithic. We call that a monolithic block, and they're just they're just a printed, so they don't have any characterization. They don't have any translucency. They don't have any characterization put into them, or any of the coloring that makes the teeth look real. So those are just a printed version of your final teeth. But when you get your final teeth, those are a specialty teeth that we use.
And they're not printed.
They're not printed, no.
No. And they hand set the teeth in.
We bond them in using a special bond that actually fuses the two materials together so that it really prevents the teeth from being able to fall out, because they have sort of become part of the denture itself.
Jen, talk about the acrylic, what this acrylic, what it's made of, because I remember you telling me that when it warms up, it forms better to your mouth. Can you talk about that?
Yes, it is a 3D printed acrylic resin that is designed to react to the body's natural body heat and form an even tighter bond to the person's palate.
And it has a little give.
Yeah, it does, because of that, because of the body heat. It has some flex to it. It's not just a rigid acrylic product,
right?
Which makes it a lot more comfortable.
Yeah, well, I remember you asking me, what do you feel? Do you feel that flex? What do you think about it? Because it was different for me from going from my hard immediate dentures to this soft denture, and it flexes, but it doesn't rub sores.
Correct.
It just flexes enough that it's nice. It's not flexing up and down and moving and creating, just kind of moving with your mouth. It moves as your mouth goes along.
And reacting to how your muscles are flexing as you move your face.
Well, Jen, thank you for coming on with me and filming.
Thanks for having me, Michelle.
I appreciate it.
Thanks for letting us talk about our process and how we're trying to do it a little bit differently.